people. It takes a minute. This is always the awkward part where it says it's loading, but I think you guys can see me. Now I know you guys can see me. Feel free to pop in the comments and say, I can see you. Okay, so we're here to talk about the opposite of hustle, and we actually have 3 days together, which is really exciting. My intention for each of you is that we will leave each day. Hi! Is that we will leave each day. I will give you something actually actionable. I can see you too. Something actionable so that you can apply it immediately and start creating change from today. So you are going to leave the 3-day training, being able to identify when you are in the hustle, because sometimes we're like in it and everything's moving so quickly we don't even know what happened, and how to pull yourself out of it. And this is really how you achieve more in less time. This is obviously my area of expertise. This is what I teach people in my Time Hackers program. People come to me hustling, trying to do all the things, not achieving anything, and we really break it all down, step them out of the hustle, get them into doing less and achieving more. I see you too. Amazing. So lots of you know me for sure, but maybe some of you don't. So I will do a brief intro. My name is Vicky. I'm a coach, and more than that, I really am a reformed hustler. And I say this because I don't want any of you to sit there and judge where you are right now. I promise you, wherever you are right now, I've been there 10x. And maybe some of you saw my email or post about the exact moment for me where I really started hustling, which was when I was in university and sat in this huge lecture hall, thousands of people, and the head of economics, because that's what I studied, got on stage and said, you know, you're all used to being the best from the schools that you're from, and you all got A's, and I immediately felt this sinking in my belly and looked around me at thousands of people and thought, am I the only one that didn't get A's? Am I the only one that wasn't the best at the school that they were in? And felt all this shame wash over me, and all this not good enough, and that whole story of not belonging, and really decided to just bust my balls and work really hard and hustle to prove that I belong. So maybe for each of you, you can feel free to share it if there is a specific moment like that, which there may or may not be, where you remember dropping into oh, I've got to hustle. This is what we're doing here. This is what I'm going to do. And I also wanted to tell you guys some funny stories now, looking back, of me hustling. Just so you know, wherever you are now is very, very temporary. I literally once sat in an office, a co-working space, at 10 p.m. at night on a call to the US, ignoring calls from my partner, because he was calling to tell me there were rockets flying over my head. So that was one. The second one was the week before my wedding. Did not take it easy that week. And really, over the last 10 years, I've been unlearning the whole hustle vibe, because guess what? I did create results, right? I was successful, but what else was I really creating? So I like to start with really simple, what are the definitions of hustle, because there are a few, and I actually looked them up and wrote them down so I wouldn't mess it up. I looked them up in the Cambridge Dictionary. So here's what we've got. The first one is to push or force something along. And you can really think of it this is a crowd at a concert, if you remember going to concerts, and we're being hustled out after it's finished. The second one is an energetic action. So to act quickly and with energy, that's another definition that they gave. And what I like to think of here is opening and closing loads of tabs on your computer, or having a phone call, having a type, lots of different starting and stopping things going on. And the third one, which I thought was really interesting, is to forcefully encourage someone to buy something, or to cheat someone and describe it as a dishonest way of making money. And what I think of there is you do the 3 cards, you find the queen, here's the queen, and you're moving them around. and taking money from tourists, and that's a hustle. So just really interesting that we live in a world now where we have changed what it means when like these are the definitions. Now there's some reasons why we hustle. It sounds like terrible, like why would we hustle? And the first one is that we are really taught from a young age that like hustle is hard work, and hard work creates results, and results make us a good person. And this can really be traced back to like our pagan roots, and like when we literally farmed the land to survival, and it was a matter of like you not working would take food from your neighbor's table, for example. So it's really deeply entrenched into our history. And then add on top of that in recent years it's really been celebrated and glamorized. Like we aspire to hustle. Me included, I can tell you that when I was younger, I would read these like fiction novels where there was always like a strong, powerful female lead, and she was like always working, and she was like hustling and like pulling tricks and deals and all of this stuff and like rising to the top. And that's really literally what I aspired to be. So if you have had the hustle aspirations, I am with you, I've been there. We also hustle because we think it's better there than it is here. Like we're rushing to get somewhere. Once we achieve X, like once we achieve the income goal, for example, then we'll rest, then we'll have arrived, then we'll feel amazing. We think that that result itself is going to create feelings of happiness and calm and centeredness and just betterness all around. And we also hustle because we attach our worth to success. And this applies to all areas. We can hustle with work, yeah, but we can hustle with relationships or finding the right relationship. I was definitely like, why am I not there yet? We can hustle with our health and like how we work out and what the results that we want to achieve. Like hustle and our worth, when it comes from trying to prove our worth, it attaches to all areas of our lives. Now I want to talk about what actually happens when we hustle and run through what I will call the hustle model. I'm actually going to attempt to draw some stuff. My writing isn't super legible, I think that's the right word, but we're going to go for it anyway. But feel free to write your own notes, and I am going to drop a post in with this afterwards. So what I want to teach you is the hustle model. It's one of several hustle models that I will teach in Time Hackers, but today we're just really picking one, and even that is a strategy that I've picked on purpose, because there's so much information out there, and we think more is better, more knowledge is better. You don't need all the hustle models, you need one hustle model that you can implement and apply and take actionable steps from. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So I want you to think about, like, one of the things that we spoke about, is hustle coming from, I'm not good enough. Can you still see me? Like, a little bit tall. Okay, we're going to go for it. So, if we are trying to prove that we are good enough, and that's the goal, then it means what we're really believing is that we are not good enough. You guys see that clearly? Let me know. I know you can see my ring light. Okay, so when we're thinking that we're not good enough, we're feeling like a fear-based negative emotion. So something like insufficiency. Other examples could be doubt, uncertainty, all of these kind of things. Now what happens when we feel insufficiency and we're thinking that we're not good enough? Oh, yes, you can see me. Okay, I think I can now sit here a bit more. What happens when we think we're not good enough, we end up with a fear-based emotion. It fuels our emotions. So insufficiency is an example. And then that insufficiency then drives our actions. So we can break it down into the definition. Yes, you can see into the definition of hustle, right? So we've got energetic action. That was the first one, right? So I want you to think about, for you, if it's like work or dating or health or whatever it is, when you're going in from the belief of I'm not good enough and you're feeling insufficient, what energetic action do you tend to take, right? It can literally be things like you can be starting and stopping. You're going to be task hopping, right? Doing one thing and then, oh, doing another, and then, oh, doing another, and then, oh, doing another without completion. Maybe this is the part where I don't try to write everything out. You guys feel free to engage in the comments as well. Like, what do you do when you, in terms of energetic action, when you feel insufficient because you're thinking that you're not good enough? Like, it really is going to be not creating a plan, not following a plan, if you even did have a plan, talking about not having a good time. Like, have you ever found yourself, like, in a page, and even in a Facebook group, and you're like, what did I mean to do here? Like, why did I open this tab? It's like you're moving so quickly in this energetic action without the thought behind it. So we're like really burning all of our fuel and not moving forward, not thinking clearly, not following decisions we made ahead of time. Everything becomes urgent. We remember another urgent thing and another urgent thing. So really, you can see the hustle in our energetic action. And then the second one we have is pushing and forcing things along. So it's the push and force. And you'll know that you'll do this when you are not having fun, you've created like a grind, we're like fighting against ourselves. So for example, the voices in your head, task hopping and using social, yeah, stopping mid-project and learn more, so good, definitely. Those are very good examples of energetic action I'm sure we've all found ourselves doing and will find ourselves doing in the hustle. So the push and force is really like grinding and like gritting and like willpowering it and like really arguing with ourselves and like, you know, you're like, shut up, stupid brain, and really doubting ourselves, spinning in like indecision and fear and uncertainty and doubt and like just getting lost. It's really this push and force. What we are trying to do is avoid failure at any cost. So we make like unsustainable decisions are very taxing and taking of others. And then often what ends up happening from push and force is we end up wanting to quit, right? And the last one, if you remember, the third one was dishonesty, and where was that definition? It was dishonest and like essentially cheating others, but here we're going to put it as cheating ourselves. And here's what happens. I call it like forgetting who the fuck we are, right? We start talking down to ourselves, talking smack to ourselves, being really mean and really critical, chipping away and hammering away at our confidence. And then we start cheating ourselves out of other things like having fun with family or friends or sleep at night or evenings off or weekend off. We're disengaging from all the other areas of our lives. This is when perfectionism is gonna creep in. This is when we're going to get to the fridge 7 times. Like, oh yeah, we've got overthinking. Yeah, great one. I mean, not a great one, right? But it's like a common one. So yeah, even you guys can continue to add here, like, what do you do in terms of like hustle from thinking that you're not good enough? Now, what I want you to notice, what we're not solving here, with anything that we are doing all the things, putting ourselves down, arguing with ourselves, of like skipping meals or skipping sleep or skipping social events, what we are not doing is solving the problem. We're not actually proving that we're good enough. In fact, we're doing the opposite because we've spent more time looking for all the criticism. And so what we're going to end up proving is that we really aren't good enough. And I want to point out that, like, I use I'm not good enough, but this shows up in different ways for all of us. It can be I'm not smart enough, I'm not successful enough. I had I'm not tall enough for a while, and thinking that didn't help either. So really, it's just like I'm not enough. It's like a missing and a skipping of enoughness. I'm going to keep that there. You did it. I can't read it. Good luck to you guys. Okay, now I want to explain really importantly what hustle is not, because we can get very confused in it. And even when I was looking up the definitions, there was like some things I was like, that's not hustle, that's something else. So I want to be super clear here. Start lying to myself that it doesn't matter and move on to another idea. Yes, exactly. All that task hopping, idea hopping, starting, stopping, quitting, it's like so exhausting. We're like burning all of our fuel down. So good, thanks for sharing. So hustle is not actually about what we do, the number of things we do, or the number of hours that we work. Like it really is not. I think there's a lot of thoughts around hustle being like working late and like doing all the tasks, but it's really not about what we are doing. It's about our intention behind it, right? Like for example, I have people in Time Hackers. Some of them have full-time jobs and businesses, so they've decided to work on a Saturday. That's very different to make an intentional choice to work on a Saturday than it is to work on a Saturday because you didn't get done all the things that you think that you should have got done during the week because you were too busy beating yourself up in a hustle model, and then you're not then like having a life and having plans, and you're not deserving of fun. You don't deserve fun if you didn't get your work done. Can you see that they're two completely different like stories going on here? One is completely from sufficiency and one is from insufficiency. I'll read that word. So it's very different to be in a place of making conscious decisions and conscious choices than it is to be in a reactive state of trying to prove something. Like you will know when you are hustling because of how you feel. You will feel a fear-based emotion like insufficiency, like doubt, and you will also know it because you will be doing things that went against like previous time boundaries or like, you know, decisions that you made ahead of time. So for example, you could say, I'm not going to work in the evening, and if you're picking up your phone and checking your emails at 9 p.m. at night, you've broken like a time boundary that you've made with yourself. And a decision that you made, and sometimes again we don't know until we are in the action, we are in the hustle, like, oh my god, I didn't even want to be doing this, like why am I checking my work emails, what's happening that I'm doing that? So it's okay, you don't always have to spot it ahead of time. Sometimes it's like you are in the middle of doing something, and sometimes it's because of how you feel when you are doing it. I like to think of it like there was a lot of memes back in the day about scrolling on social media and then you end up stalking like your ex's new girlfriend's dog, and like you were in the whole of social media. The same thing happens with work. It's just that we tend to glamorize it around work and encourage it almost, but it's the same thing. It's like we can't out hustle the belief that we're not good enough, and we know that I'm not good enough, and also I don't have enough time. I don't have the time to be good enough. Yeah, exactly. So, and it's really, yeah, and so time makes us good enough, right? So really interesting. Can I just check, when you say hustle is not about quantity, do you mean the hustle itself is not productive because you are not focusing on trying to achieve with intent? When I say hustle is not about quantity, what I mean is really, like, we could say, oh, they work 7 days a week, they're hustling. That's not necessarily true. Not that like I would want to work 7 days a week or encourage it, but someone could have a job, or in fact in the past I have worked 7 days a week. Like if it's for a goal and you've made the decision ahead of time of like, this is how I'm going to structure my week, my 7 days based on my goals, that's very different to I should be working on the weekend, or I don't know what else I would do, or I've missed my deadline, I'm behind, or I really, you know, once I do this, then I'll take a day off. Like, so it's really the intention behind it. Because often we think like, oh, you know, I want to do like these 10 things, but I shouldn't do all of them because that's hustling. Nothing is hustling unless your intention behind it is to prove to yourself or to other people that you are good enough or better. Okay, perfect. I don't have the time to be good enough. Yeah, I love that. I'm bringing back that example, Aaron, because what another hustle model could be, there's too much to do, right? So it's just like another example of like, there's too much to do, I don't have time, I don't have enough time, right? Because even I don't have the time to be good enough is really, I don't have enough time. So enough comes up a lot. So yeah, the issue that we have with the hustle that we see in our modern day world is it's like a glamorized way to prove something to ourselves, when really what we are doing is sacrificing sometimes our health, our sanity, our personal life, our social life, our our enjoyment of life. We're like sacrificing all of that in order to achieve something. Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. So how I want you guys to apply this to yourself today, and I'm going to give you these steps, and I'm going to stay on to answer questions and do some coaching with you as well. I want you to share your hustle models in the group. I'm going to post one, and we can start a thread. And then I want you to pick one of your hustle thoughts. It's usually along the lines of not enough or too much. And what do you find yourself doing or not doing? The reason why this is so important is because, like I said, sometimes we don't realize until we are in the hustle that we are in the hustle. Like, our brains are so crazy fucking smart and intelligent and fast, we just like convince us to do things, and before we know it, we're like on our phones scrolling at 10 p.m. at night or waking up first thing in the morning and checking our emails. So you want to be very onto yourself and be able to recognize, like, oh, this is when I'm in the hustle. Like when I've got 7 tabs open on my screen, or over 7 tabs, I'm probably in the hustle. So you want to get so much awareness around it. Like, awareness is always the first step. So really, how do you know when you are hustling? What are you doing and what are you feeling that gives it away? That's really the main goal for today for each of you. And the last thing I want each of you to think about, and I'm going to write this in the group as well, is what do you have now? What have you accomplished that at one point your brain told you would mean that you were good enough? You can even type it here if you want to. Like, at one point your brain was like, once we start waking up at 8 a.m., we'll be good enough. Once we get a certain job or launch our business, we'll be good enough. Once we get our first client, once we get our first 5 clients, once we fall in love, once we relocate, what is it? Because I know from personal first-hand experience that there are going to be so many things on that list, and it's like really the best way to call bullshit on your brain is to be like, hey, you remember when you promised that we would be nice to ourselves and we would be good enough once we did X, Y, Z? Like, it's just reinforcing the message that there's nothing that we can achieve that makes us feel good enough. There's nothing we can do that makes us feel good enough. Yeah, some examples from my life are like, I've got into LSE and then I said, well, if I get a 2-1, which for those of you that are in America, it's like a good grade, then I'll do it. And then if I get a job in finance, then if I get my financial qualifications, then if I get my MBA, then if I launch my coaching business, then I get my first 5, 10, 20, 50 clients, like all of this stuff. So there were a lot of things. My brain still sometimes got to admit that I'm not good enough. So share yours. Got Tracy here. I know I'm in the hustle when I feel like I'm spinning. My thoughts will not stay on one task. Yeah, I feel like I have so much to do and I don't know what to focus on. I don't know comes into the dishonest and cheating, right? Our brain's just like, I don't know. So good. I put things off until the last minute and I tell myself there are more immediate things to work on. And when I do start to work, I get into super perfectionist mode where I do the task hopping and constantly blow past deadlines. Yes, exactly. So awareness is the first step. We have 3 days together. Tomorrow we'll be talking about what to do instead. For now, questions and coaching. So just type your questions. When does that stop? How did it stop you? When does that stop? How did it stop for you? Wait, so tell me, when did the hustle stop, or when does the thought I'm not good enough stop? Just clarify a little bit on that question. Thanks, lovely. Next question. I have to coach 10 clients once we get the house built in NC. Once I make my first 100K, then I will calm down. Yes. I have to coach 10 clients once we get the house built. Once I make my first 100K, then I'll calm down. Yeah. And I'm not sure if those are like things that you've achieved that your brain told you once you achieve them we'll do it, or they're things that your brain's saying we've not achieved, but once we do them. But if they are things that you've not achieved yet, and your brain's telling you that you have to do them to feel good, then write them somewhere, please, because you're gonna laugh. And you see that this when you are in that life, and you're like, oh, but now it's 20 clients. But now it's like the redoing of the kitchen for the second time. Now it's 200K. So the insufficiency, the thought not good enough, how do you stop thinking that way? Here's the thing, right? like, I'm not good enough is an opinion, and the word enough is so subjective. That's why our brain loves it so much. One of the things that we're going to be teaching you about is how to quantify things, so you actually set goals and achieve them and follow through. And yeah, it's really tying into like enough is an opinion. Your brain's going to tell you that you're not good enough. You get to decide what you make it mean when your brain says that. But really, I'm going to be dipping more into that tomorrow and the next day. So for today, I really want you all to get very comfortably familiar with your own hustle thoughts, your own hustle actions, your own hustle emotions. Like, we always want to skim over this part, right? We're like, yeah, this is uncomfortable, move. We've tried to hustle away from it. I want you guys, I'm sorry, I've given you 24 hours to sit in it, allow the discomfort of it, and really get to know it and get onto yourself. I promise you, I know it's uncomfortable. This is the investment that you are making in overcoming this. Like, what's that saying? Know your enemy, better know your enemy, or something like that. Not that like hustle the enemy, not that there's any enemy around, but really, let's get to know what we're dealing with, and our solution is going to be so much more powerful. I'm constantly in deep hustle. I'm a people pleaser with no life other than work. Sad I know. So I don't have a personal goal, just achieving client outcomes. My goal is by reference to their needs, nothing personal to me. So wrong, I know. One thing I would just say is, like, notice a lot of the judgment you have about yourself for where you are now. Like, sad I know, so wrong I know, all of that stuff. And is it even true that you don't have like any other goals because you showed up today for you? So we can tell the story of like, here's all the things that I'm not doing for me, or I'm terrible, or here's the one thing that I've done today for me, which tells me I'm already taking a step in the right direction. We are all, like, our brains are wired to people please. It's how we survived. Literally, we didn't want to get kicked out of tribes. So however your brain is, all of you, is how it's evolved to be by design. The good news is it doesn't have to stay that way, and we're going to speak more about it, but I really want to encourage you guys, like, if there's one thing, just like taking away the layer of judgment, the reason why, I'm speaking about this is because we all experience it. We evolve to have it. And what you might want to think about is one small goal for you, which could literally be, come back tomorrow and attend the call. Like, what if this is a goal? You being here, there's like action goals and result goals, right? So you being here is you committing to showing up for yourself, setting a goal and showing up. Okay, Tracy, how do you let go of all the things and just focus on one thing? And how do you pick the one thing? When I do accomplish something, I tend to disqualify it and say it doesn't count because I still have ... to do. Right, it's like that beautiful example that I spoke about of, like, it doesn't matter what you achieve, you can't out-hustle the I'm not good enough story. And when you say how do you let go of all the things and just focus on one thing, and how do you pick the one thing, when we're unclear on making a decision on picking the one thing, it's coming from the belief that there's like a right and a wrong thing, and so we better not do the wrong thing, so we don't do anything, we don't decide. Instead of picking one thing, doing it, letting us figure out by doing that it's wrong afterwards. And then how do you let go of all this? Like, we're going to be speaking about the solution more tomorrow, so great question. I still find myself overwhelmed by my to-do list. I'm trying to focus, but then I find myself prioritizing other activities I like doing better, but I still think are beneficial. You're going to hear about this tomorrow. I'm not going to yell at you. So I'm trying other activities that I like doing better. Still find myself overwhelmed by my to-do list. Because so even the to-do list, right? And we're going to speak about this, but even the to-do list, it's like all of those things on that list, what do you think you're going to accomplish by the end of them? What have you got very good at having outstanding tasks? This like goes against like some other stuff that I might say, but if the choice is have the overwhelming to-do list, not do the things, have the to-do list, not do the things, feel overwhelmed, or have the to-do list, allow having the list and not completing things, and work through them bit by bit, what's the better option for you? Like, the reason why I'm like, to-do list 0 and I'm not pro to-do lists and just having them there is because there is no such thing as completing everything that you have to get done. You have to get very comfortable having incomplete things. So for example, if we're thinking about this and someone's hustling to create clients and they want to send out like a 6-email series thing and a podcast, and they only have time for the podcast, then instead of working at 10 p.m. that night, you want to be making decisions to get the emails done the next day. The only reason why we would work that night and give up, and cheat ourselves out of time off and evening off and even good sleep is because we think something better is going to happen once we do those emails. We think we suddenly get better. We think we have to like earn them when it's not true. Okay, my brain, I don't know enough, so we need to learn more and take more classes. And the current result I'm creating is not taking action, not reaching out to clients or posting content that can help people because I need to learn more. Never-ending cycle. Yes, this literally came up with a client today, and her go-to is to like do all the research. But when you are doing the research and the learning from I don't know enough, it doesn't matter how much learning and studying you do. It's like every time you find something, your brain's going to use it as evidence. Oh my God, there's something else we didn't know. Now we really don't know enough. Like there's no amount of learning you can soak up to have your brain be like, okay, all right, she did it. She's been studying for 2 years. I guess she knows enough. Right? We can't solve a thinking problem with actions. This is really what I mean by we can't out-hustle our hustle stories, our like insufficiency stories, our fear-based brain. Okay, lovely people, that's it from today. Actually, I'll stay on for another minute or two if anyone's got another question. Just because you guys have been super engaging, it's brilliant. But I will be back tomorrow, and from tomorrow we start solving it. Like again, even like I wonder how many of you in your brains are like, I just need to get the solution. I just need to get the solution. I just need to get the solution. Versus actually, I'm willing to sit in my like uncomfortable hustle, my bitchy brain, my uncertainty, like and really take time. And we're back tomorrow in 24 hours, but really give time to sitting with like, what do I actually do? What is my hustle model? What is the thought that drives what feeling? And what do I end up doing when I'm in the hustle? I'm going to, wait, so how do you fix Chrissy's problem? Right, exactly, Tracy. This is exactly what I'm speaking about, is like we're going to solve it tomorrow. But for today, I want you to all get your hustle models down and out. And then tomorrow we're going to be speaking about what to do instead. So it's really to each of you to think about like, how do I show up when I'm in the hustle? How am I going to be able to identify it? How will I know what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, what I'm doing? And those other few questions that I've got for you. I'm going to post them in the group and come back tomorrow. This is a 3-day training, 3 short, powerful posts and trainings to get into your brain and then give you time to sit and think about it. Today's work is really for each of you, getting to know your own hustle model, and that information is going to set you up for success tomorrow. All right, lovely people, have a wonderful day or evening, and I will see you in 23.5 hours. Bye.